Hey Taurus, I'm Eleanor and welcome to Peaches by Starlight Tarot. This is your first week of March pick a card reading where I'll be breaking down this King of Cups energy and your weekly quote from His Holiness the Dalai Lama. The aim of all Buddhists must be to empty themselves of greed and grasping desire at the root of all suffering. These cards came out in your annual and your monthly and they're linked below if you want to hear me pull them and talk more about them and all that stuff. So if you're called to see this video at any time, it's meant for you whenever that time is. Don't get hung up on it being the first week of March because the energy is fluid in that way. And not everything may resonate, and that's okay. So check out my Etsy page if you want a private reading that's more tailored to you. And if you do hear something that's going to serve you, hit that like button. And if you hear something that you feel like would benefit someone you know, please share with them. Go ahead and subscribe if you want to get notified when I do my weekly readings. They come out one for every week of the month, plus a monthly. And also comment if you have any questions, if I feel you feel like glossed over something, or if you want to know more about something or have questions about any of the cards or anything like that. So this energy is about this month. The King of Cups is someone who feels very deeply and still shows up and is in their power around their emotions and doesn't detach from their emotions, but does feel, but has them contained and chooses their reactions and can still show up and be strong and feel their emotions at the same time. There is an intent, a very high level of emotional wealth with this card, and that's why I chose blessing cards, because you are being blessed with emotional wealth at this time. And I chose the Klimt Tarot. I have stack 1, stack 2, stack 3. Your timestamp below, you can choose 1, you can choose 2, or you could choose all 3. It doesn't have to be just 1. And they're timestamped below, so you can skip ahead. Let's start with stack 1. You have the 4 of Swords in reverse, the Queen of Wands, and Intimacy. Is that going to focus? It's a little farther away. Not. But it says Intimacy. Not much of a picture anyways. So this is reminding me of an article I just saw on Tiny Buddha, I want to say, like on Facebook. It was about when you are working on your healing and focusing on yourself, don't forget about everyone else, that tuning everyone else out, focusing on yourself, learning to set boundaries, learning not to take responsibility for other people's feelings, that is all healthy, it's all well and good, it's all something people need to learn to do. And there is a point where that can cross over into like a narcissism and like an isolation. And so it's talking about staying in a healthy balance around all of that. And this intimacy is calling you forward out of this 4 of Swords, where this 4 of Swords is kind of, when it's upright, it is this retreat that you really need, and it is this alone time that you really need, but when it's reversed, it's become too much, and it's time to come out. And your refuge has become like an echo chamber almost, and the echo does imply a certain degree of emptiness. So while you may have been attempting to fill your own cup, which is something we all need to learn to do better, there comes a point where if you are isolating, then there's nothing flowing, and it does become a sense of emptiness. And so how can you come back out from that and learn to balance this self-care that you need so well, and at the same time not just chopping everyone out of your life and saying, you know, just moving into the middle of nowhere and just disconnecting from everything. That part of life is our connections too, to have healthy connections. Stack 3, reverse 2 of Pentacles, the King of Swords, and your blessing is understanding. Where can I hold that it will focus? There. Okay, found it. All right. Understanding with the King of Swords is about going from wishing something was true and hoping something is true to knowing something is true. And how can you go from wishing and hoping to total knowledge? I'm feeling with this reverse 2 of Pentacles that you've been distracted, indecisive, scattered, feeling out of balance, feeling out of whack. And we have this King of Swords and this King of Cups here. So there's a feeling of trying to balance these two, balance these two energies within yourself. How can I be both of these things at the same time? There's a sense to where in your mind you may feel they're mutually exclusive. And so for them to both come up in this reading, it's like, how do I marry these two energies into one and not kind of fall just all into one or the other? And it has to do with, because of this energy right here, talking about tapping into your feelings, sorting out your feelings of abundance from your feelings of craving. And a little bit like if you've ever heard of intuitive eating, or if you've experimented with that, learning the difference between genuine hunger cues versus emotional eating, or just wanting food, and having to figure out and sort those things out. So when you can sort the sources of what you're feeling and root out those feelings of not being enough, of craving, that's when this King of Swords, this logic, can speak forth and make sense, and not be, it's how they keep each other in check. Does that make sense? All right. Checks and balances. Stack 3. You have the 10 of Pentacles, reverse 10 of Swords, and your blessing is recognition. Do you remember in Alanis Morissette song, I can't remember what it's called, but it's something like, the moment I let go of it was the moment I got more than I could handle, and the moment that I jumped off of it was the moment I touched down. So there's a recognition here of the harmony, the returns, the abundance, all the rewards that you want are just on the other side of this ending that you seem to be resisting. The 10 of Swords is the end of something, but you are hardcore trying to keep that at bay and not let it happen, and to keep something going. And with the Swords, it's a thought pattern that you have going that has really not been serving you, and you maybe are at this time recognizing the way it hasn't served you, and it may be finally time to turn this card upright. Let that go. And it's like instantly, the minute you let it go, everything that you want in this 10 of Pentacles can flow to you. Just like it says here, you have to empty yourself of the poverty mindset, of the craving, of the feeling like you're not enough and saying you're not enough. And it's like almost like those feelings of not enoughness, of lack, take up the space that prevent the things that would actually fill it from coming in. It's like an air pocket. And so there's no room for everything that you want in this 10 of Pentacles to come in. So you have to create a void there. Let that all go. Squeeze it out and empty it out, and then it can be filled. You know, like you have to hold the ketchup bottle just a certain way so the air can get out, or the air can get in, the ketchup can get out. I'm hoping that makes sense. It's just a weird metaphor, but you know what I'm talking about. So please subscribe, because I have another one of these coming out next week. Thank you, Taurus.